Coming up on This Is True Really News, a story from Redwood City, California.
I have one from Santa Ana.
Oh,
named after the famed Santa Ana. Just keep going. It'll be easier.
It's a California
Don't want to
extravaganza.
stop there.
Please like, subscribe, or follow This Is True Really News, and ask your friends to do it as well. And, subscribe anywhere. We're on everything. So we're on everything. Sounds
Yep,
right,
now
hit
we're
the fan and we're everywhere. We're your
Don't know.
podcast bucket.
Shut up and let
buddies?
Sheila
Is that
do her
what-
thing. It'll be all
Okay,
she's
please.
had to
Help us
go
now.
there.
This is True, Really News with Scott Combs and Tony Vercanis. All the news you're about to hear is true,
Really?
as far as you know.
So I'm talking to my neighbor yesterday,
Okay.
and she was missing in action for like a month. She was in Florida visiting her kids.
Oh, okay.
And I mentioned, I always threatened to move like down south where it's warmer. I said, even Arizona, Texas would be terrific.
Mm-hmm.
California, maybe. I said, I had a chance for a job in San Diego once.
Mm-hmm.
And she looked at me with the same eyes I usually have.
Yep.
Yeah, but it's California. Yeah, understood. So a California woman has been charged with killing a man by ramming her car into him after accusing him of trying to run over her cat in the street, according to authorities. 20-year-old
Running over her cat in the dining room would
that would be a problem.
Yeah.
20-year-old Hannah Esser was charged with murder in the death of Victor Luis and detained on $1 million bail, the Orange County Prosecutor's Office said. She was driving in the community of Cypress when she confronted Luis and accused the 43-year-old of trying to run over her cat. She and the gentleman both got out of their vehicles, which is always a good idea, and got into a rather loud argument, which Esser recorded, and then returned to her car, and then turned around, and then drove toward Luis and hit him. He was pronounced dead at the scene. In an amazing display of understatement, District Attorney Todd Spitzer said this action shows a complete disregard for human life. Luis is, if you're wondering, the father of 5, was looking forward to his first grandchild this fall.
Oh,
And he was killed in front of his apartment, dying in his brother's arms. Oh, that's not the worst part.
how's that possible?
Kimberly Edds, a spokesman for the district attorney's office, said it's actually not immediately clear whether or not a cat was actually involved in any of this. The crime's still being investigated. Sometimes crazy just really doesn't need an excuse.
It just coughs one up when it wants
Just is. Wow.
Speaking of Californians and vehicle incidents, Vicky Constantini, 49, from Redwood City, California, was at
Isn't she that magical person from DC Comics?
Who?
John Constantine, never mind.
Oh, I don't know John Constantine.
And it is Constantine, by the way. I don't care what the movie says or the cartoons.
This is
In the comic book, it was Constantine.
But
It looks
this
like
is-
Constantine.
This is Constantini. So I assume
Never mind then.
Yeah.
I was mistaken.
she's an alcoholic beverage.
No, that would be a martini.
Oh,
And that would put him in a whole different movie with Jimmy Stewart.
that would. In any case, she's 49. She's from Redwood City, California. She was at her cabin in Arnold, California. And upon waking, she heard her car horn blaring. When she stepped out the front door to investigate, she noticed all her hazard lights were on. There were lights going off. The hazards were on. The car was honking. Someone or something had gained access to Vicky's Range Rover Epoch, about $100,000 worth of automobile. As she approached the vehicle, she could see the dash and seats were torn to shreds and was very concerned. But she and her accomplices decided to open the back of the SUV. Lo and behold, a young bear scampered out and skedaddled off. Constantini told local media it was foamy in the mouth when it came out, probably very dehydrated from having been there so long. It was pretty desperate to get out. Apparently, what she'd done is leave the Range Rover unlocked the night before. And the bear That
Could
she
work the
accessed.
door.
Yeah. So
See, those bears are not stupid.
the moral of the story:
Yeah.
lock your car, take your keys. Don't help a good bear go bad.
See, the trouble with you and I being born about the same time,
About the same time.
I've watched the same
Hours
damn
apart.
public service announcements you have.
Yeah, that was what, the 60s? Was that the 60s
heavens.
or 70s?
Lock your car, take your keys. Don't help a good boy go bad.
Yeah,
60s, I think, late 60s, early 70s in there.
Yeah, that's probably the case.
Yeah. Remember the fatal lightning strikes in Washington, D.C. in August,
Oh, yeah.
causing the deaths of 3 people?
Well, and therefore the fatal,
Yeah.
nature.
And I'm not saying the shocking events because that would just be callous.
Well, and too easy.
And too soon. WSA TV reports that Amber Escudero Contestadis. Okay. Amber is 28. She lives in Newbury Park, California. I had to find something with California.
There you go. Nice work.
Was with the group huddling under trees during this storm, and she was the lone survivor. She suffered burns down the left side of her body. Initially couldn't walk, but she's now using a walker and looking forward to getting back to her job. What saved her?
Yeah, what saved her?
She and her mom, Julie Escudero, think the thick rubber soles of her Doc Marten boots helped her out.
They probably did.
But she also credits the first responders and traveling nurses who happened to be in the park for their quick action. The trauma doctor referred to it as an absolute miracle. Amen. Hey, that's a nice story about a California thing.
That
It
is
wasn't really a California thing. It was a Washington thing.
Well, let's
Hardly ever a
just,
nice Washington thing.
let's move over to medical adventures.
More?
Paramedic got a call.
I had a miracle top that, big boy.
Paramedic got a called out for eye pain. 9 times out of 10 calls like these don't really require any emergency room. So I stride into the house and casually introduce myself, ask what the problem seems to be.
Does he have like a pole sticking in his eye?
Lady turns to me,
Oh, no.
showing her right eye bulging about 3 times further than it should, and says, "My eye popped out of my head. No trauma, no nothing. Just walking around, suddenly her eye pops out of her skull. Turns out she had a super dangerous clot called a cavernous sinus thrombosis.
Sure.
Basically, it clogged one of the drainage vessels for the brain and built up back pressure till a pop. You know,
You mean those weird dangly glasses? Remember those?
yeah,
It's almost
Roger
Halloween. Those
Rabbit's eyes usually go back after a couple of seconds of that. Doc said the most patients with her condition were in no state to have a conversation. She was lucky they got her taken care of.
This lady wasn't drawn bad, was she?
I'm not really bad. I'm just drawn that way.
This is true, really news. Send email to TITR@netradio.network.